One day you're going to wake up and realize no one is coming to save you. I'll tell you a little story. When I was probably 32, I had credit card debt. I had I'd say about $10,000 in credit card debt. I had a loan at a bank that I'd gotten to buy a car, and that was probably about $5,000. And I had my own business. I was trying to have my own business and live, and I couldn't do it. I needed money. I was not even living paycheck to paycheck. I was just putting shit on credit cards. So I started to look for a regular job. And this was extremely devastating to me because I wanted to have a business. So what I did is I found a part-time job. That paid pretty well, wasn't too far away, and seemed like it would be interesting. Now, this was quite a long time ago because, I'm old. I'm 52 now. Didn't love the job. No. As soon as I started the job, I also decided that I needed to get a handle on my money. I felt like I was smart. Like, I'm smart. Why am I having this trouble? And it's because I kept thinking someone was going to save me. I was going to find a guy who had money and he'd just pay it off and I wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. And when I went to the bank, because I had a $6,000 credit card from Discover that I couldn't pay off, and they were going to garnish my wages. And I finally got up the courage to go to my local bank. Now, I don't think you can do this anymore, but my local bank knew me, knew my mom and dad. And I sat down with Rick Moe, was his name, at the bank. He was the president of the bank. And I said, this is happening to me. And I was so embarrassed and so horrified and so full of shame. And he said, well, what's your plan? And I said, well, I got this job and so I can pay it off, but they're going to start garnishing my wages. And now my new employer's going to hear about this. That's going to be so embarrassing. And he said, well, what do you think we could do? And I'm like, can you just pay it off and then I'll pay you? And he goes, well, if you didn't pay that off then, why do I think you're going to pay it off for the bank? And I said, because it's you. And he said, so I'm just not some nameless Discover card. It's Rick Moe. And I said, yeah, exactly. He said, what if you saw all of your creditors that way? And I was like, oh, because I had some medical debt. Like I had weird stuff on my credit report that was outstanding. I had a terrible credit rating, like 450 maybe. And so that's what I started to do is I looked at every person I owed money to, or every place I owed money to as a person. And it changed the way I felt about money because I knew I was not going to let Rick Moe down, but I was certainly willing to let Allina Clinic down. And that wasn't fair. And I did a couple things. One thing I did is I didn't know how to pay all this off. Like it just felt so overwhelming. There's a lady named Mary Hunt who had this like budget, how to pay off your credit cards. And there were some formulas because you could either pay off your debt by paying off like the highest interest first and then get to the lowest interest, or pay off the smallest balances so it felt like you were making progress. I'm like, I got to do that. So I did the hard thing and I went and I called all of the debt collectors that had been calling me for years. I called them and I made arrangements for payment. I had this new part-time job, so I knew how much money I was going to get. So I would say, okay, well, I can give you $20 every 2 weeks. And they would take it, of course. And I did that for a year. And I paid off about $6,000 that way. And I really discovered that, I had to save myself. I had to figure out the way money worked. And so I had a spreadsheet that I set up for each check that I got for this job. I ended up getting hired on full time. And every check I got, I knew exactly what was going to pay off or pay on. So I knew I had $200 at the end of the first 2 weeks and $200 at the end of the last 2 weeks. And that's what I could buy food with. That's what I could do entertainment with. And that was it. I got really good at entertaining at home. I'd throw like potlucks and I'd provide something cheap. I'd do hot dogs. Okay. Everyone else would bring all the other stuff. Bring your own beer, bring your own stuff. So I stopped going out. I would do this thing where I would try to spend as little money as possible. I'd play a game. How could I go this whole weekend without spending any money? And I would do it. I'd eat everything out of the freezer. I, would go to my mom and dad's for dinner. And that taught me that I can save my own self. And I can learn how money works. And that's what you're going to wake up one of these days and decide you are not only can you save yourself, but you are worth saving. And now, yeah, I got married and I had about $4,000 worth of credit card debt when I got married. But, I was so ashamed of that. I remember telling him under the covers, like, I have $4,000 in debt. And he's like, oh, that's not really that much. It's like, oh, okay. Once you join a household, then it's easier to pay off. But right now, like my credit score is 850. I drive a really nice car. I live in a beautiful home. And all my student loans are paid off. Like, if you would go back when I was 30-some years old and tell me that this was my future, but I had to care first. I had to decide I was worth it. And then I did. Here's another thing. I did not. One of my questions when I was dating was, how do you feel about money? Because I did not want to date anyone who did not have a good relationship with money. Because I had a shitty one and I was trying to figure it out. And I thought, two bads cannot get married. Okay. That's his recipe for disaster. So that was one of my things. I wanted somebody who didn't really want kids, and I wanted somebody that was good with money. And that's what I found. But I had to decide I was worth somebody that was good with money. Because if I'm bad with money, why would I think someone else, like, it's gonna bring up all this stuff in me if I'm with somebody who's good at money, right? They're gonna judge me, they're gonna whatever. But really, my husband just taught me how to grow money, not just live paycheck to paycheck or with under paycheck to paycheck, but really live and grow money. And it's made all the difference in the world. So I had to save myself first, though, because otherwise, I know if I would have started dating him and I had all that other debt and I had all this medical debt, I wouldn't have gone on the second date with him, because I would have thought, I don't deserve a guy like this. I don't deserve that. I got to date somebody who's broke like me. No one's coming to save you, Toots. But you know what's great? You can save yourself. Yeah. I believe in you.